Today's show is sponsored by HomeWetBar.com. Dare to be awesome as you build the ultimate bar at your home. Head over to HomeWetBar.com to check out their selection of customizable barware and accessories and save 10% on your order with the coupon code BOURBON. We are also sponsored by Round Table Woodworks and BarrelChips.com. RoundTableWoodworks.com features the finest artisan-crafted whiskey barrel products, and BarrelChips.com brings whiskey smoke to your favorite foods with their authentic whiskey barrel smoking chips.
You're listening to the Firewater Review. This is a podcast dedicated to whiskey reviews. On today's show, we will be reviewing Smooth Ambler Old Scout 10-year store pick from Vintage Bottle Shop. I am your host, Seth Brown. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Aaron Cave. How's it going?
It's going great, Seth. How are you?
I cannot complain. It's going swell. Going swell. Just going into some of the things that I've received before we started recording, and was on a little vacation with the family, and I felt like it was bourbon Christmas when I came home. I had a lovely Glencairn shelf from Round Table Woodworks that Aaron sent me. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
Chris Williams at Round Table also sent us a beautiful Glencairn glass with the Firewater Review logo on it. And
it is one awesome glass.
Yes, it's beautiful.
It's very beautiful.
I'm a little biased. But I also received a bourbon poster. I forget the name of it, but it's from Chet Zoller's collection of his pre-Prohibition era bottles.
Oh, that's cool.
And he had a poster made of his collection. So that came. I got home and I was like, wow, this is nice. I need to leave home more often.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So as I mentioned in the intro, tonight we're drinking Smooth Ambler Old Scout from Vintage Bottle Shop. This is the 10-year Old Scout. And Vintage, which I'm sure probably no one listening to the show knows where Vintage Bottle Shop is. It's not like it's a Lincoln Road or anything like that, but Vintage is actually in Acworth, Georgia, which is just up the road from me. He's gotten to where over the last few years, he's gotten more and more private barrel picks in, and the owner himself actually doesn't drink whiskey. I was telling Aaron this right before we hit record. He actually drinks wine. That's all he drinks. So the way that he used to do it, I can only imagine he still does it this way. I don't shop there a whole lot anymore, just because it's a little bit out of the way, but still a great store, decent, fair prices. But the way he used to do it was that his frequent bourbon customers, if he was picking a barrel, he would ask the people like myself to come in the back and try the sample and let him know which one they liked the most, and whichever one got the most votes is the barrel that he would order. So I would only imagine that he still does that, but he's getting some good barrels in. He's had Boone County 1833. He has a barrel of that. He has a single barrel proof Four Roses. I can't remember what recipe it is though. And then he's had the Old Scout. The Old Scout, actually, he had for about a day and a half, and it sold out. I think
They usually do.
Yeah, the 10-year, and maybe you can get into this when you go into a little bit about the distillery, but the 10-year, I think they've quit doing the barrel program for the 10-year. Have they quit doing it altogether?
Altogether, they have quit for at least this year because, they were bought out,
Right.
So, yeah, they've kind of cut the program. I think they're kind of, I don't want to say getting short on their sweet barrels from MGP, but I think it just seemed like a smart time to cut back and probably either revamp or work on what they're producing there at the distillery. So they're stepping back from the barrel program for this year, maybe next year, but hopefully it doesn't go away completely.
Yeah, they've had some really good private picks to come out of there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know, you see them sell for crazy secondary prices now on some of the Facebook groups. But yeah, this particular one, I don't think it was the last barrel of 10-year, but it was the last in, it may have been all of Georgia, I think, at least at the time, which is why it sold out so quickly. Like I said, it was gone in about a day and a half, 2 days tops. And I forget how much the 10-year goes for. What is it, like 50, 60?
It really depends on where you're buying it from. Here in Ohio, we don't have hardly any Smooth Ambler picks, so I always have to get mine out of state, and it's usually around somewhere between $50 and $70.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what I paid for these, but anyway, I felt like it was fair, especially for a 10-year private pick.
Oh yeah.
You know, I figured it was at least halfway decent. You can buy much worse whiskey for a lot more.
Oh yeah. That is for sure.
So what can you tell us about Smooth Ambler?
Well, they opened up in 2009, kind of as any craft distillery does, producing vodka and gin, and then realizing this isn't going to pay the bills as our bourbon ages, so they decided to source whiskey in and kind of get some stuff on the shelf. So they bought a ton of barrels from MGP in Indiana, and come to realize they picked some phenomenal barrels, and they started off blending them to make their 7-year just on the shelf Old Scout, and they put it out at 99 proof, and it all their Old Scout bottles are all non-chill filtered, which I love. So around 2013 or 14 is when they started coming out with the single barrels, and they started popping up on shelves in Kentucky and around West Virginia. That's where Smooth Ambler is out of, is West Virginia. But they're high proof. Usually they were between 8 and 10 years. I've seen a few 11 years out there here and there. But they're all sitting between what they used to sit between 108 to 119 proof. But I have a bottle open right in front of me. That's an 11-year. That's 94 proof. And that's the barrel proof was 94. And I also have one sitting on my shelf somewhere that's 121 proof. So, the proof does vary from very low to very high. I even have an 86 proof.
Really?
Single barrel. Yeah. So there are some really low proofs and some very high proofs. And like I said, the ages vary from usually 8 to 11. I haven't seen any 12 years besides the very old Scouts, but that's not what we're getting into tonight. So, they sourced all these barrels in, and they kind of let them age there in West Virginia, and been trying them. And when they hit that, sweet spot, they'll bottle them as a single barrel bourbon and release them out to the wild. They did have a barrel program, so stores, shops, liquors, bars, and just clubs could go down and pick barrels. And there've been some great bottles come out of Smooth Ambler. These guys can pick some amazing bourbons, and even their regular off the shelf stuff is really good. Like I said, it's non-chill filtered, and it's just it's got tons of flavor. It's Their 10 year is great. It kind of varies now between like 7 and 6. I've seen a few 6 years, a few 7 years on their normal Old Scout. But what I'd love is on the bottle, they're straightforward with you. They tell you, hey, we're an American premier artisan merchant bottler. We bottle, this. We don't distill this stuff. We buy it, we bottle it, and put it out for you. If you read the side of it, it's Smooth Ambler Old Scout Bourbon. It's the finest current whiskey scouted during our efforts to find exceptional American whiskey with smoothness and flavor we admire. So it's, they say, hey, we don't distill this. We buy it, we bottle it, but it's great stuff. And on the other side of the tag, it tells you, where they got it from. Distilled in Indiana, bottled by Smooth Ambler. I love that they're straightforward with you. And I respect anyone that can just say, hey, this is what we're doing.
Right.
And now, looking at what they're doing now, they just released this year, their 5-year wheated bourbon. And that just came out. So, they were producing and they were barreling stuff, and this is just how they kept afloat, till their stuff could come out.
Yeah.
So
and they have a yearling too.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it's more than a yearling at this point. I think they have a 2 or a 3 year out now. Is that right? And then the wheated itself is, what'd you say, 4 years?
I think it's 5. I think the barrels are 5 to 6 years, specifically they put it as a 5-year. If you get through their whole collection of the Old Scouts, and the Old Scout is the stuff that is sourced. That's right. They have the 6 to 7 year. They have the 10-year. They got the Rise. They got the single barrels, and now they have the Contradiction, which is a blend of their wheated and it's a wheated and a rye, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they just got a big variety of stuff that they're doing, and I've never tried their vodka or their gin, but I've heard good things about it. And even their rum, they have that rum that they sourced
right.
in.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, that's like a 20-some year rum. So I've never tried it, but
I actually forget that they have other stuff other than the Old Scout and the Contradiction. And then the stuff that they're doing on their own, the whiskey.
Yeah, so they're putting out a ton of stuff. So what can you tell us about? You talked a little bit about Vintage Bottle Shop. Is there anything else you want to elaborate about them?
Not really. If you're local to the area or know where they are, they do have some good picks. Like I said, it's not a very big store at all. It's in a Kroger strip shopping center, and it just has Bottle Shop. And for the longest time, I never knew what the name of it was until I actually got a free pint glass for, just giving it to the regular customers. And it had the logo Vintage Bottle Shop on the front. This was years ago after it had been bought from the previous owner. But like I said, it's a good shop. They have some friendly staff there. They've got some other barrel picks. I think I mentioned the Four Roses, Boone County 1833. He's got some other ones in there too. I can't think right offhand what they are. He's got a 1792. I think it's small batch. And there's some other ones. I can't think of which ones he has in there right offhand. Like I said, I don't frequent the store like I used to, but when I want a good local store pick, I usually hit him up, and he has some in stock. So that's all I have for him. I just remember when Smooth Ambler came out, I thought, West Virginia, really? It just seems so weird to me. Of course, growing up in Kentucky, I went to school in eastern Kentucky. And it's kind of one of those rival state type things. West Virginia is the butt of all the Kentucky jokes, and I'm sure Kentucky is the butt of all the West Virginia jokes. But I just remember it coming out going, who makes bourbon in West Virginia? And then come to find out, it was actually pretty good. Granted, it wasn't being made in West Virginia, but they were sure picking some heck of barrels.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to, getting a bottle of the wheated and trying their stuff that they're coming out with. And I was looking at the website. That is a crazy mash bill. Have you looked at the mash bill for that wheated? Yeah, it's 60 corn, 20 wheat, and 20 barley. 20% barley. That is crazy.
Wow. But, I don't know of anything else like that right offhand.
I've never seen a barley percentage that high.
That high. It's usually like 5, maybe 10 tops.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's supposed to be decent. I mean, I missed a post on one of the local Facebook groups. There was a guy up there just buying boatloads of it. And because it's distillery only, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So he was up there and was just picking up a bunch and muling it all back for everybody. So I missed that one, but oh well. In due time.
Yes.
Well, all right. I don't have anything else to add. Do you?
The only thing I really have to add, which, well, we'll go over it when we do our tasting stuff, but I was just going to say, this bottle that we're trying tonight is aged 10 years. It's 117.8 proof. And my bottle is, I don't know bottle number, but the barrel is 3,658.
And guess what?
What?
Mine is too.
Yes. So we are trying the exact same bourbon tonight.
Yeah.
From the same barrel.
Yes. Well, thank you for adding that info because I totally forgot. And like I said, I can't remember how much this was. I want to say it was 50 to 60-ish. But yeah, that's it. Well, let's take a break. Let's sip on some, take some notes, and come back and let the fine folks know what we think about it.
Sounds good.
All right. We'll be right back.
Dirty Knees Soap Co. DirtyKneesSoap.com. Dirty Knees Soap Co.
All right, Evan, I think that Dirty Knees has changed your life in a very dramatic way, correct?
Yeah, that is correct, Steve. There was a time in the recent past
what, like 3 weeks ago?
I did not think it was all that important to shower every day or every other day or every third day. I took my showers about once a week, and I thought that was plenty. And the people around me agreed, I guarantee it. But I got my hands on some Minnesota wood from Dirty Knees, and I decided to start showering every day. That's how much I love the smell. That's how much I enjoy this odd, clean feeling that I have in the morning heading out the door.
Is it just once a day, or is it you're doing it more than that?
Well, just the once, just the once for now. But there's, when you're doing it every day, there's nowhere to go but up, I guess. So if I have to double up, I will.
Welcome to society. Welcome to society.
Yes, thank you. It's funny. I actually got a raise the other day. Do you think that had something to do with it?
Probably.
Minnesota wood. That's it, man.
Dirty Knees Soap Co. DirtyKneesSoap.com. Use promo code Bourbon20 and receive 20% off your first order.
Pig of the Month Barbecue. Pigofthemonth.com. Want to take some of the stress out of your everyday life? How about if you could enjoy the best barbecue you have ever tasted within minutes after it's delivered to your home? Pig of the Month makes it that easy. Delicious meals, side dishes, and even desserts delivered to your home ready to heat and eat. Head over to pigofthemonth.com and check out what they have to offer. You can even receive free shipping on your first order with the coupon code BourbonDaily.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. In the break, we have been chatting and sipping on Smooth Ambler Old Scout 10-year-old from Vintage Bottle Shop in Acworth, Georgia, just up the road from me. So, per usual, would you like to kick it off?
Yeah, I will. First thing I got to say about this is, I mean, just looking at it, it is super dark, don't you think?
Yeah, it is.
It is dark. It's like a dark amber. I mean, super oily. I mean, the legs on it are just, before I even tried it, I could tell. I mean, this is just going to be super creamy and very viscous. You know, nosing it, it's got a lot going on there. I get some light caramel, little maple syrup, hints of cherry. I could definitely pick up the rye. Almost every single barrel from Smooth Ambler is a higher rye bourbon. There are some low rye bourbons, but most of them are all high rye bourbons. I can really pick up that high rye out of it. Little black pepper. It's got a nice oakiness to it. It's not over oak by any means,
Right.
but you can really the oak really comes out at you, and right at the tail end. I mean, if you really think about it and kind of put your nose in there, I can really pick up a lot of leather and oak to this. Leather and tobacco, sorry. This is, I mean, the nose on it is almost like a perfect bourbon nose. It's got everything to it. But the palate, like I said, I'm actually gonna take a drink right now. It's super creamy, like I said. You just coat your palate. It's really sweet up front for me, with a nice spice to it as well. It's brown sugar, and I get that like real creamy vanilla. Right after that, it's like that black pepper and rye pop. It's just, I mean, just spot on. It's just what I would think of super high rye bourbon. It's sweet, and then it's spicy. I get a little bit of dried cherries after that, and I get that leather, and I get that oak, and at the tail end, I get like almost like a pipe tobacco. It's just like the nose. I nosed it, I tasted it, and they're almost spot on. And then for the finish, it's long. It's a very long finish. It's got almost like a burnt caramel to the finish. A little bit of honey, a lot of toasted oak, and just that rye spice. I mean, that spice sits with you. It's I mean, this is a great pour. I mean, I've talked about this with you on many occasions, either on the show or off the show, or post show or pre-show. I probably have 30 to 35 bottles of different barrel picks of Smooth Ambler Old Scout. It's no secret that this is my jam. So yeah. I love all. I mean, these guys do a great job, and I can't talk them up enough. And for me, I'm sitting at an 89 on this.
Nice.
89.5. I'm going to throw a 0.5 in there.
There you go. Pulling a Seth. Nice.
Yes. I'm feeling it's a 0.5 type of night.
Very cool. I just wish I could say that I actually had a hand in picking this one. I can't.
Oh yeah, it's good.
They've had a couple there that I've helped at least partially, but not this one. Like I said, I haven't been there in a while. Yeah, he still has a great selection. He's still picking some great barrels, or I guess his customers are picking great barrels. So cool. So you said 89.5.
89.5, correct.
All right. Well, I had a lot of the same notes, but there's some slight differences going on here too. For me, right out of the gate, well, I say right out of the gate, when I first poured it, it had been a while since I've had a pour of this one. And so I got home today, I poured one. I was walking around upstairs before we sat down for dinner, taking some mental notes, some digital notes on my phone. And I was getting caramel and some brown sugar. And you ever get those noses where you're just like, I think that's what it is, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it was for me tonight when I had this in my glass first. And then we sat down and we ate. I got back up. I left, some sitting in the glass, sitting up on the counter. I came back to it, and I mean, it jumped out at me then. It was definitely caramel and brown sugar. But I was also getting some nutmeg. I was getting a little bit of some floral notes in there occasionally. Some, like you, it's not over oaked. To be quite honest, I mean, there's not a whole lot of, for as high proof it is, we said it was 117.8. There's not a whole lot of alcohol burn to it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Yeah,
on the nose and the palate, for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a nice spicy aroma and spicy flavors to it, but there's nothing there that's overpowering, especially for the proof. The same with the oak. There's not a whole lot of oak there. I was getting some kind of lightly aged oak with it. Like I said, to be as high proof, there's not a whole lot of spice, but I was getting a little bit of leather and black pepper on the nose. I was getting a little bit of apple in there too, which was kind of throwing me off. I don't know, but I was getting some of that there. Really, I agree with you though. I love the nose. It does have a whole lot going on, and it's really balanced. It starts off sweet for me, but then you get some of that the spiciness from the black pepper in there too. On the palate, the vanilla and the caramel really jumped out at me up front. It's got a nice balance of the oak there. I was getting a lot of the cinnamon and leather and black pepper. I agree with you. It's got a great mouthfeel on it. It's really creamy. I loved it. It's a really well balanced whiskey. Like I said, there's nothing that really overpowers it. It's got a nice sweetness to it. It's got a great spiciness to it, and they just play really well together. The finish is long. It's not as long as what I thought it might be with the mouthfeel that I had with it, but it's still a fairly long finish. I mean, I'm still getting some of the flavors in my mouth from when I took a sip the same time you did when you were giving yours, and I'm still getting some of those sweet flavors there hanging around. Like I said, it's long. It's got a good bit of creaminess to it too. Getting caramel, leather, a little bit of mint in there. On the tail end of it, I'm getting some tobacco. It's just some of the sugars. I agree with you. There's some burnt caramels, burnt sugars going on in there. But it was really good. It was really good. I enjoyed it. It's a great pour. And I'm going to give this one an 88.
All right.
Yeah, it's good. Like I said, it's been a while since I've had this one.
That is an 88.75. So almost an 89. That's a great pour.
Yeah. Like I said, I just wish that I could have said that I picked it. We'll pretend. You mentioned the color on it. That was the first thing that jumped out at me when I put it in the glass.
Yeah, super dark. And I just took another sip, and I'm almost getting kind of almost like a buttered biscuit taste to it as well, with a little bit of honey on it. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing about Old Scouts is they evolve big time. When they open up, after you open a bottle, I mean, they can change dramatically, and just in a span of a couple months, one bottle can go from just being, oh man, this is a good pour, to being a stellar pour. Yeah. And I've actually got that going on right now with this. I have a 10-year from the Cork and Bottle that one of my good friends, Ed Bly, picked, and it's 109 proof, 109.2 proof. And I opened it and I was like, oh man, this is a great pour. And I'm pretty much at my last maybe 2 or 3 pours of it. And I tried it the other day, and it's gone from like a really good pour to a stellar pour.
Really?
It's a phenomenal. I was almost, when before the show, when we were talking, what are we going to drink? Are we going to do the same bottle? Are we going to do 2 different bottles? I was gonna pick that bottle, and I was like, oh man, I might rate that almost too high. So, yeah, the more it opens, that's just the better it gets. And I'm sitting staring at it right now, thinking, it's hard not to finish it now because it's so good now. But how good is it going to be in another month?
Right.
You know, so it's fun, you know, letting stuff just open up and seeing what can happen with it. But you know, there's always a fine line where it can go from being great to being turns the other way.
Right.
A little too much air can do damage.
I don't know that I've had one ever get worse. I mean, I've had them stay relatively the same, but then I've had some to get better. This one I don't know. When did I send this to you? I can't remember. It's been a few months.
Yeah, definitely a few months. Yeah, I've had at least for 2 or 3 months.
I don't think I opened mine the day that I got it, but it wasn't long after then that I did open it up. So it hasn't. I mean, it's been open, we'll say 2 months, and I've had it's just past the top of the label on this, so it's not, doesn't have a whole lot missing out of it. But yeah, it's still good. It's still, you know, you think about that. You just opening yours today.
Yeah,
it kind of makes you wonder. I mean, of course, everybody's palate and nose is going to be different, but you just kind of wonder, okay, if with mine being open a little bit more, is that where, you know, like some of the apple that I was getting on the nose, is that where some of that's coming from? You know,
yeah.
Who knows? And
that's one thing I was going to hit on is, yeah, I just opened mine like maybe an hour ago, if that. And I'm for me to give it almost a 90 score at just popping it, I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with this as it opens up for me.
Hopefully it's not one of those that goes in the wrong direction.
Well, yeah, I don't want to say it's ever gone like sour, like in the wrong direction, but I think my higher proof bourbons, as they sit like too long, it's almost like the proof disappears. It gets almost lighter, I would say.
Yeah,
it's not as viscous for me.
Yeah,
but one thing I want to hit on with the Old Scouts is, you know, I did mention they were a higher rye mash bill. And I was just doing a little research as I was talking, and I imagine it's the same mash bills with the off the shelf Old Scout is, and that is I think it's 60% corn, 36% rye. That's a lot of rye.
Wow, that is a lot of rye.
And 4% malted barley. So
which is crazy because it's like you were saying before the break, they're going almost the complete opposite direction with the wheated.
Yeah.
With the 20% barley.
Well, yeah. So I mean, no rye, high wheat, and high barley. I'm really interested to try that because that just.
I don't know that I've ever had one that high barley that I know.
I mean, I honestly think it's going to be a great pour because the higher the barley content, the more nuttiness I think you usually get from bourbon. You get those like nice peanut flavors with the higher barley content. So, you know, you think like Maker's Mark Cask Strength has that nice kind of nuttiness to it, or you know, the Beam or the Heaven Hill. You know, they all have that kind of nice peanut flavor to them, and they're all, I think, all kind of on the higher barley content.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to try that one. But yeah, I didn't realize that this was as high rye as it was.
Oh yeah, it's super high. And I actually think their low rye is pretty high rye as well. But yeah, it doesn't drink like it's a super, like a 36% rye bourbon. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was higher rye, but I didn't realize it was 36%. I mean, because what we on the Four Roses, when we did Elliott Select, what is Four Roses high rye? It's around 35, isn't it?
It's 30. Their high rye is 30 and their low rye is 20.
Okay. So yeah, this is even higher than that. Now I know why I like it so much.
So so 88.75. You won't be able to find this bottle unless you live in Georgia and you picked one up within the day and a half span. But if you ever see a single barrel sitting on the shelf, or any of your stores have a store pick of the Old Scout, I would definitely recommend picking it up. It's like I said, I got about 30 bottles, and I've never had a bad bottle of it.
Yeah, and nowadays with age statements going away, and I mean, yes, this is sourced, but it's 7 to 10 years, and in some cases a little bit more. And especially if you can find, like you said, a store pick, then it's absolutely worth the money.
Yeah,
you can spend your money in a lot less worse ways.
Oh yeah, and another, one more thing I meant to mention when I was doing, my whole spiel about the distillery is these are, if you find a store pick, even actually off your shelf, they're all hand labeled. Mm-hmm. So, they write on the label. So it's, this one's handwritten, 117.8 proof, 10 years, which barrel number it is. Someone's taken the time to write that down.
Yep.
Nice little touch.
There's been some, I have to look at some of my other bottles. I want to say some of them actually has somebody's name on it, I think.
Yeah. Let me look at mine real quick. There was a span where they would
do this, by the way.
Yeah, there's a span where where they did do. Well, I don't have to get up and walk away from this. Right?
Oh.
I have 4 bottles sitting in front of me. So, they did have names put on them when they first started. None of the ones I have in front of me do, but I could go. I could take a little small detour and go.
You hear all the bottles and everything. I just picture
hear everything moving,
like somebody going to their closet, throwing a bunch of junk out, and they're like, "Oh yeah, here it is." That's funny. But yeah, no, they are very, very personalized, and Buffalo Trace puts all the stickers, the pre-printed stickers and stuff like that. These are it's like stamps on the labels. I always thought that was kind of cool.
So yeah, I for this show I actually pulled out four of them because I wasn't sure what we were going to get into, but I'm going to tell everyone what I actually have out in front of me. So I have a Lincoln Road picked by Jamie Ferris. It's an 11-year barrel pick, and that's the one that was, as mentioned earlier, was 94.2 proof. Then I have the vintage, which we tried tonight. Then I have the one that I was talking about from the cork and bottle, which is 109, and that is a 10-year. And then I had the bourbon guys pulled out just in case. And that was, the one I have is 104.2, 10 years. What was the one that I sent you? Was that the 104 or the 102?
It's the 102.4.
Okay. So I'm glad we didn't do that one tonight because we had 2 different barrels.
Yeah, this one is barrel 1633.
Yeah, although I think I still have a 102. I'd have to go search for it, though. So, but
yeah, I love it. These 2 bottles were actually written by 2 different people, too. You can just tell by the handwriting.
Yeah, you can tell by the hand, yeah. So, well, anything else you got to add?
I don't. Give them a try. That's it.
Yeah, definitely.
That's it. Plug time.
Plug time. All right. Well, find me on Instagram and Twitter at Bourbon Cave. I write for the Bourbon Zeppelin, high proof single barrel bourbons, which all these Old Scouts meet that criteria. So,
and they're non-chill filtered.
And non-chill filtered. So you might find those on there one day. And I also write for the Sons of Winston Churchill. And you can always find me here on the Firewater Review. Seth?
Excellent. I am Seth P. Brown on Instagram and Twitter. You can find me on this show, The Bourbon Show. You can find all of our shows on abvnetwork.com. You can find them in iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Some of our shows you can find on YouTube now. No idea why that started working, but it just randomly started working. So check out YouTube. Too. Yep. There's no video.
No video. I was going to say, is there video?
No. You do not want video of me. I sit in a dark room surrounded by bourbon bottles and baseball memorabilia. But that's all the plugs that I have. We talked a little bit about Chris Williams, who's been on this show, and Roundtable Woodworks. I would absolutely check out what he is doing. You can find his stuff on Etsy, or if you just go to, I think it's just roundtablewoodworks.com, I think.
Yep.
Which takes you to Etsy. That's his site. He does everything from Glencairn glasses, which are $15. Those are custom engraved Glencairn glasses.
Yes. Which we both are drinking out of tonight.
Yes. The Firewater Review Glencairn glasses.
Yes.
But they
Thanks, Chris.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Chris. We need to get him back on the show for sure. But yeah, he's got some cool stuff on there. He's got the Glencairn display glasses, the shelves. He has whiskey barrel smoking chips. Those are awesome. I love those things. I think Evan Haskell sleeps with them as his pillow.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Bourbon barrel shadow boxes, which are kind of cool. You can put bottles and, just little tchotchkes, little plants, things like that.
Yeah. Or even if you're looking for a barrel head, they'll send you one of those. So.
Yep. But yeah, definitely check him out. He's doing some really cool stuff, and support him. Support those guys. We appreciate it, and they appreciate it. So that's all I have. That's it. Thanks for listening. Cheers.
Later.
The Firewater Review is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, and cheers.
This episode brought to you by WhiskeyThreads.com. That's WhiskeyThreads.com. Whiskey Threads is modern whiskey gear for those who know whiskey. Just a quick reminder to drink responsibly.